To BSLIVE. Today I want to show you an interesting new features if you downloaded Blender 2.81. This is still alpha, it's not even beta. This version of Blender actually have a new feature called Remesh, Voxel Remesher. And the way it works is that if you have like a bunch of, let's just say a bunch of donuts, like that, and then they're kind of overlapping, and then you kind of, okay, you don't know what it is in your mind, but you have some kind of ideas that requires a lot of donut shapes, and you want to merge them together. Normally you would just use Boolean, but in this case, if you join them together, go under Sculpt, and in here you can't see it, right click, show tool. There's a new function. It's called Remesh, and by default, it's just very simple. Voxel size 0.1, and yeah, you try to just click Remesh, and quickly you can see what's going on. It's remeshing those four donuts or torus into a single mesh. They don't look very detailed, and if you say, okay, but we already have Remesh modifier, right? Yeah, we do, but they are actually slightly different the way it works. Maybe it's similar, but the one we have inside the sculpture mode is a lot better in a way that you can continue sculpting. Okay, sometimes it gives you that kind of hollow and then it's not very good, but if you increase the resolution, go smaller with the value, you're gonna get a kind of more interesting result. Like, I mean, you go smaller, like if you pick the right value, you're gonna get a much detailed result. There you go. And then once you get this, you just continue sculpting your donut or whatever you are trying to make. So that's the premise. It's basically a tool for organic sculpting. Maybe if you're doing like more like hard surface modeling, this is probably not so good. But if you're doing like organic modeling, this is like really insane. It's really good. Okay, let's try. I also want to show you. There's this, okay, dynamic topo. So when you're kind of sculpting this way, you don't need to worry too much about the topology, as long you know that if the surface doesn't look good, you just smooth it out, holding shift and smooth out. But say with the dynamic topology, you can zoom out and zoom in. If you zoom out and then try to paint, it's kind of simplifying the surface. But if you zoom in, it's actually making changes to the topology on the fly, while you're still using the same tool as usual. So you can make detail. If you go closer, you can even make like a tiny detail. So this is really powerful way of sculpting. It's not new, I know, but today I want to talk about it. So there's dynamic topology, there is a Voxel Remesher, which is really cool, and Simplify. I use this a lot. Simplify is really simplifying the surface while keeping the form. So like I said, I'm still like beginner of sculpting. In terms of sculpting, in terms of modeling, I used to use NURBS, and then kind of making maybe making a shape, and then you kind of lofting the shape, or maybe revolve. It's the old school way. I mean, that's because I use Maya and FormZ and those kind of procedural modeling tool. But in Blender, the polygon modeling tool has always been pretty powerful, especially sculpting. And I was afraid of sculpting because back then I cannot get used to ZBrush. Really, ZBrush is really cool, like, but Blender is really easy to use, very easy. And then yeah, you just have fun with it. I'll show you like a quick trick. For example, if you because I like using procedural way, So if you want just random boxes, you create a box in SketchUp. I use nodes a lot, and so if you just want to have like random boxes, I'll do it this way. Random vector, not randomized out input. Random vector, maybe 20 boxes. Okay, something like this to start with. You can kind of do that. Make sure they're kind of overlapping, right? And you don't want multiple objects. Let me save this first. Sculpt Voxel. You don't want multiple objects, you want to merge. So you have a single object, random position that you can still change. Let's see. There you go. You can scale, randomize. Okay, still working. And from here, we can duplicate, and then they are overlapping if you look at under wireframe. But if you go to Sculpt, our friend Voxel Remesher will do the job. Remesh. Look at that. You get a new form. You can kind of work from here because you already get the form, and then it's kind of simplifying the form. But you can also kind of go higher, like I said, 0.02 for example, smooth to normal, remesh. Now you get this. This form is clean. It's really dense, but it's really clean as well. If you actually want to reduce the density, you can always go to decimate and then reduce it in a way. But while if you're sculpting, you actually want this kind of density. So select the object, sculpt mode, and you can start sculpting. And you have a lot of freedom here, really. Just smooth. You can smooth them, and then just kind of sculpt on top of it, pulling it or pushing it while holding control. I'm just using my mouse, not anything fancy like stylus or Apple Pencil for today. Still, this is really powerful and really fast. See, I'm using just MacBook Pro. It's not a very powerful computer. It has a good CPU, but it's really smooth and organic. That's really the main point. So if you ever want to create anything, you just start with anything, maybe like random shape or not so random. You kind of build the form first, and you kind of pushing and pulling, and that's some people call it blocking, and I'm still getting used to that idea. Blocking is like you have a certain shape, and then you probably use something like grab and use a large radius, and then you start to form and shape and block your ideas in 3D. It's not easy for me actually. I'm not a sculptor by nature, but I like this idea of blocking and then getting into the shape. And once you're happy with the shape, then you continue sculpting and adding details. So you need to have a good shape first. Like for example, this block is not very interesting. Now we can randomize it further. On top of that, we can perhaps randomize the rotation. SketchUp doesn't have Euler, but you can always randomize this way. Just plug it into rotation and increase the scale. It's a hack, but it works as well. So from this form, just duplicate it, and now go to sculpt mode, and then here our friend Remesh will do the job. Remesh point 0.05. Yeah, there we go. So and then you can start to build the shape, blocking it out. And so if you have like a more complex shape, you start with a simple shapes and then you put them together and then join them and then just use Voxel Remesh. I think that's a good fun way for beginner for sculpting in any way. It's probably not the most correct way if you're doing something like really complex, but you can see how fun this is actually is. So let's pick an object. Let me think. Though I like this character a lot. Doraemon, Japanese anime robot from the future, and he always has this kind of cat bells, and I think this kind of shapes is something that we can create very easily using Voxel, because it's just a let me save this first. File, new. We can come back to Spreadshop later. Mesh. Okay, file, save as Doraemon bell. You can start with a torus, and then you rotate it R, X, 90 degree, and then you have a UV sphere, yeah, and then you have like a cylinder, and then you scale it in Z. There you go. That's a good start for the Doraemon bell, right? Maybe the the radius needs to be adjusted, things like that. With the torus, because this is not in the procedural way, you can go into edit mode and then scale it, or you can use displace modifier. Adjust the ring. That's a good start, despite yeah, the rest of the details. Maybe we can kind of boolean. Yeah, but that's not important for now. You just simply join this. You can use boolean, but once again, if you're doing organic things, you just go into sculpt mode and then right click, show tools. That should be default, I think. This, and then remesh. Yeah, you can see the algorithm is doing a mistake. 0.5. It's gonna be less. It's gonna be less accurate. 0.05. Ah, interesting. It doesn't seem to like the torus, or maybe I need to smooth it a little bit better. But that's a good start. If you make like super high-res Doraemon bell, yeah, it's already pretty dense. Maybe the size also matters. But yeah, probably at this point you want to maybe simplify, smooth them. Maybe it's actually too accurate with the UV sphere. It's try to keep the UV. Ah, look at this. The smoothing actually keep adding that kind of lines. Maybe not very good. But this is something. This is like an object that's it's become a single mesh and it's really clean, and supposedly I think maybe a little bit too dense. I think for the bell itself, if you just want something that's, you're supposed to have that kind of holes. In our case, maybe we just sculpt it and draw it. Objects has non-uniform scale. Okay, turn off symmetry. That's actually interesting. It's this mesh is probably too dense or something. Try the dynamic topo. Need to push in. I have feeling that this is probably not a very good surface. Let's try Remeasure it again. Remesh. So 0.2. It's becoming too overly dense. I don't know why. Let's decimate this. Apply. So maybe this will perform better. Sculpt mode. Can we simplify now? Oh yeah, that's actually quite interesting. Doesn't seem to like the shape. So let me save this. Did I save the original one? Oh, I didn't. Let's try actually using a cube. Subdivide it and use a torus once again. You can use the torus for that part, but cylinder is probably nicer. RZ, oops, RX90, it's smaller, and cylinder. Let's try this once again. I wonder if I should boolean it. I have an add-on called box cutter. If I hit Option W, so box cutter should be able to just cut like that, and then I enter. That's like a boolean. Oh, okay, it's doing that. Which is interesting. I have to plan this more carefully. Like, and then you can also make circle over there. Don't worry about that. Let's continue with this. Control J. Oh, okay, I need to get rid of the boolean first. Oh well. Apply. Boolean apply. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Control J. And back to our sculpt. I think it's a good idea to just make it like that. File, save as. So we have kind of like a backup, just in case the voxel didn't give us the result we want. Remesh. This is probably better. 0.08 remesh. Yeah, not too dense, and we can work with this. I believe we can simplify now. Sometimes you will, yeah, I can simplify it by holding W as well. So this one works. I'm pretty sure you can make nice looking metal Doraemon bell this way. Maybe just smooth this part. We have tools like blob, inflate. Will it work? Inflate, but holding control. Blob. Yeah, I just want to make like a rounded shape over there. But that's a pretty good Doraemon bell, right? Maybe I should just push it like this. But you can definitely print this out, and it's gonna look something like this. But you need some kind of, it's not a, it needs to be hollow, so you can put another ball inside it so it makes sound. But you got the idea. If you ever want to make like a robot. Maybe at some point I will make the actual Doraemon using just like a simple shapes, you know, like sphere, another sphere. Yeah, maybe that's for later, but let's save this. Let's go back to Sculpt, random Sculpt using random shapes. So you can use box or any other shapes generator here, like even torus or icosphere. You can even randomize the box itself and randomize the seed. Range integer. How many objects we have? 20. Okay, 20 random integer goes into the seed. Now this is totally random. Have an integer number here. Plug this into the count. Now we can have totally random boxes. I wonder if the middle part will be solid or not, but if you go to Sculpt mode and remesh, maybe the middle part will be solid, or maybe there's a hollow. Maybe it's still hollow. Okay, it's actually quite interesting. So from here you can add details or things like that. It's again, I really like this way of sculpting. If you just start it, nobody should tell you, okay, you're doing it the wrong way. Okay, you have to do this. I think this is actually best if you just start it and then you gain confidence in sculpting and you play around with it. Dynamic, this guy, like this and dynamic topo, I really like it because we can add details where we need it. So if you want to have like a happy face in here, you can see it's adding detail where you need it, but you need to zoom in. Maybe there's a better way. There's another way to do this. Oops, not like that. Yeah, and then you use things like layers or clay. Layers is pretty. I always find layers tools is pretty crazy. It's really pushing or pulling into a certain distance, so that's pretty crazy. I still have dynamic topology on, so maybe I should try all the tools, like inflate. Can I inflate while I'm zooming in? Apparently I can. But I like that happy face there. I'm holding shift, now it's totally smooth out. And don't forget you also have simplify down there. So that's simplify. While holding smooth, it's simplifying the surface. It's actually reducing the topology, and sometimes it's eating the topology, so be careful. Be careful on that. But now you have this shape, and then if you are careful, maybe you can create some kind of abstract looking Pokemon. So that's also an idea. Play around with the matte cap while sculpting. You can have kind of nice detail if you turn on cavity and maybe shadow, but it's gonna slow down a little bit. But I found this to be really fun. So yeah, from random boxes into this kind of interesting looking objects that you can maybe print it out, or you can turn it into virtual AR objects. Yeah, so just an idea for you to get started. I guess Voxel Remesher is gonna be a tool that any sculptor will love. Try it with Blender 2.81, still beta, so be careful with that. But have fun and have a nice weekend. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Bye.